The waiting room smelled like antiseptic and fear. David wiped his sweaty palms on his medical scrubs for the third time in 10 minutes. His first real shift at Galactic Medical Station Mercy 7 was nothing like the simulations back on Earth. Real aliens sat in the plastic chairs around him, bleeding colors he had never seen before, speaking languages his translator chip struggled to process. A hive worker clutched her arm where chemical burns had eaten through her protective shell. 2 seats over, a trader from the outer rings vomited blue liquid into a disposal bag. David's supervisor, Dr. Alwyn, moved between patients with practiced efficiency. The Cessive physician had 6 arms and used every single one of them, checking readouts, administering medication, and updating charts simultaneously. David followed behind her like a lost puppy, trying to absorb everything at once. The medical equipment looked familiar enough, but alien biology turned every procedure into a puzzle. What counted as a normal heart rate when your patient had 3 hearts? How much painkiller was safe when their liver processed toxins twice as fast as humans? "Stop thinking so hard," Dr. Alwyn said without looking at him. Her translator made her voice sound like wind chimes. "You know this. Trust your training." Before David could respond, the station's docking alert echoed through the emergency room. A transport ship had just arrived. The main doors slid open with a hiss of pressurized air. What came through those doors made everyone in the waiting room go silent. The creature stood over 9 feet tall. Her massive arms hung from a torso that looked carved from granite. Gray skin stretched over muscles that rippled with each movement. The alien's head was broad and flat, with small eyes that glowed a dull orange. A ridge of bone ran from his forehead down to his thick neck. This was a Kravik. David had seen pictures during his xenobiology courses, but the images had not prepared him for the reality. Every instinct in his human brain screamed danger. This thing could tear him in half without breaking a sweat. But the giant was not attacking. He cradled something small and fragile in his lower arms. A child. The little one's skin was pale blue, almost translucent. Her breathing came in short, desperate gasps. "Help her," the Kravik said. His voice rumbled like distant thunder. "Please, my daughter." Dr. Alwyn snapped into action immediately. Trauma Bay 3. Now, the medical team swarmed into position. David grabbed a mobile scanner and followed them into the treatment room. The Kravik laid his daughter on the examination table with surprising gentleness. Up close, David could see that the child was not Kravik at all. She was Quillen, one of the peaceful species from the inner colonies. Small and delicate, with features that reminded him of rabbits. "What happened?" Dr. Alwyn asked as her arms moved over the child, connecting monitors and starting IVs. "Transport malfunction," the Kravik said. "Life support failed. She stopped drinking water 2 days ago. She just kept getting weaker." David watched the readouts appear on his scanner. Severe dehydration, kidney failure, electrolyte imbalance. The child's organs were shutting down one by one. "Her name is Pyrie," the Kravik added quietly. "She is 6 years old." Dr. Alwyn worked without pausing. "Start fluids. Carefully. Her system is too weak for standard drip rate." "David, monitor her cardiac response." David positioned himself near the child's head, watching the heart monitor. Pyrie's eyes fluttered open for a moment. They were huge and dark, filled with pain and confusion. Then they closed again. The Kravik stood against the wall, all 4 arms pressed against his sides. David recognized the posture from his cultural training. The warrior was forcing himself to stay back, to not interfere. His small orange eyes never left his daughter. "Father," Dr. Alwyn asked, "what is your name?" "Gorath," the giant replied. "I adopted her 3 years ago. Her parents died in a mining accident. I was security officer at the colony. No one else wanted her. Too small, too fragile." David found himself looking at Gorath differently. This massive warrior, who could probably fight off a dozen armed soldiers, had chosen to raise a child, not even his own species. The juxtaposition was striking. "You did well bringing her here," Dr. Alwyn said. "Another few hours, and we could not have saved her." Gorath's entire body seemed to sag with relief. "Thank you. Thank you." The treatment continued. Fluids dripped slowly into Pyrie's tiny veins. Color began returning to her translucent skin. Her breathing steadied. The numbers on David's monitor climbed from critical toward stable. Then everything went wrong. One of the monitors started blaring an alarm. Pyrie's heart rate spiked, then dropped. Her small body began convulsing on the table. "She's crashing," Dr. Alwyn announced. "Prepare for resuscitation." The medical team moved with synchronized precision. David found himself pushed aside as more experienced staff took over. Someone brought the defibrillator. Someone else prepared emergency medications. Gorith stepped forward. "What is happening? What are you doing?" "Stay back," a nurse told him. "We need room to work." The heart monitor went flat. That terrible continuous tone filled the room. Pyrie had stopped breathing. The doctor. Alwyn positioned her hands on the child's chest and began compressions. One of the other doctors squeezed air into her lungs with a manual pump. The defibrillator charged with a high-pitched whine. "Clear," Dr. Alwyn said. Pyrie's small body arched as electricity coursed through her. The monitor stayed flat. Again, Dr. Alwyn ordered. David watched it all happen as if in slow motion. The frantic movements of the medical team. The growing desperation in Dr. Alwyn's voice. The sound of hands pushing down on Pyrie's fragile ribcage over and over. And behind it all, he heard something that made his blood run cold. Gorith was growling. A deep, rumbling sound that came from somewhere primal. The massive Kravik's orange eyes had gone wide. His forearms tensed. His entire body began to shake. "No, Gorat Guispirth." Then louder. "No, stop. Stop hitting her." David turned to look at the warrior. Gorith's face had twisted into something between grief and rage. His translator was working, but David realized with horror that the alien did not understand what he was seeing. Tio Gorith. It looked like the doctors were beating his dying daughter. Security barriers should have stopped him. The reinforced doors should have held. But Gorith moved through them like they were made of paper. The first guard went flying across the room before he could even draw his weapon. The second managed to activate his stun baton, but Gorith grabbed it with one of his massive hands and crushed it into sparking pieces. Two more guards rushed in from the hallway. Gorith backhanded them both with his lower arms. They hit the wall and slid down, unconscious. "Stop attacking my daughter," Gorith roared. His voice shook the medical equipment. "She is already dying. Let her die with honor." Dr. Alwyn looked up from the compressions. Her 6 arms kept moving, pumping Pyrie's chest in rhythm. "We are trying to save her." "Liars!" Gorith's orange eyes blazed. "I see you striking her. I hear her silence. You dishonor her death." David's mind raced. He had studied Kravik customs during his xenobiology training. The pieces clicked together with horrible clarity. In Kravik culture, the dead were sacred. Any physical contact with a body after death was considered the worst kind of violation. To strike a corpse was unforgivable. Gorith did not understand CPR. He thought the medical team was desecrating his daughter's body. The massive warrior took another step forward. The medical team scattered. A nurse dropped her medication tray. Another doctor backed into a corner. Only Dr. Alwyn stayed at the table, her hands still pressed against Pyrie's chest. "Someone stop him," she said. Her voice was calm, but David heard the edge of fear underneath. "I cannot leave the patient." More security guards poured through the door. They carried riot shields and neural disruptors, the kind of weapons designed to drop large, aggressive aliens. But using them in a medical bay was suicide. One stray shot could hit a patient or rupture a critical gas line. "Do not shoot," the head guard shouted. "Evacuate the other patients. Clear the room." But there was no time. Gorith was already moving toward the examination table, toward Dr. Alwyn, toward his daughter. David stepped forward. He did not think about it, did not plan it. One moment he was standing against the wall, and the next he was between Gorith and the medical team. The size difference was absurd. Gorith towered over him. The Kravik probably weighed 400 pounds more than David. Maybe 500. 4 arms versus 2. Alien muscle density versus human flesh. David raised his empty hands. "Gorith," he said, "your daughter is alive." The warrior stopped. His glowing eyes locked onto David. "Move, human." I do not wish to hurt you. Then listen to me. David kept his voice level. Pyrie is not dead. Her heart stopped, but we can restart it. What you see as attack is medicine. We're giving her life back. Her heart does not beat. I hear no breath. She is gone. Gorth's voice cracked. Let me hold her. Let me say goodbye properly. In 1 minute, you can hold her. In 1 minute, she will breathe again. But only if you let Dr. Alwyn finish. Gorth's 4 hands clenched into fists. You speak lies to delay me, to continue your desecration. I speak truth. David took a half step forward, closing the distance. Every survival instinct screamed at him to run. In human medicine, death is not final until we say it is. We have pulled people back from the edge hundreds of times. Pyrie crossed that edge, but she has not gone too far. Not yet. Behind him, David heard the defibrillator charge again. Heard Dr. Alwyn call for clear. Heard the electric shock and Pyrie's small body convulsing on the table. Still no heartbeat. Gorth's control shattered. He swung his upper right fist at David with enough force to cave in a steel door. David moved. Not backward. Not away. He stepped in the punch, inside the arc of Gorth's swing. The massive fist whistled past his left shoulder, close enough that he felt the displacement of the I in the same motion. David struck upward. His fingers found the nerve cluster just below Gorth's elbow, the exact spot where 3 major nerves crossed. He pressed hard, driving his thumb deep into the tissue. Gorth's arm went dead. The sensation was instant, like hitting a funny bone amplified 1,000 times. The warrior's hand opened involuntarily, fingers splaying wide. David used that moment. He grabbed Gorth's limp arm with both hands and pulled. Not hard, just enough to use the warrior's own momentum. Gorth had been swinging with all his strength. When the punch missed and his arm went numb, his balance shifted forward. David helped him along, but he stepped to the side and guided Gorth's massive body downward. One hand on the numb arm, the other finding another pressure point on the warrior's thick neck. Not enough to cause real damage. Just enough to override the signals from Gorth's brain. The giant alien went down like a falling tree. David rode him to the floor, maintaining the pressure on the nerve points. In 3 seconds, Gorth was face down on the medical bay floor with David kneeling on his back. The room went silent. Every guard stared. Every medical worker watched with open mouths. David kept his left hand on Gorth's neck and raised his right hand palm out where everyone could see it. The universal gesture for non-threat. Gorth, David said quietly, stop fighting me. Listen. The warrior struggled. His 3 working arms pushed against the floor. His legs kicked. But David's position made leverage impossible. Every time Gorth tried to rise, David pressed a little harder on the nerve cluster, and the warrior's strength drained away. Listen, David repeated. Just listen. Then, in the background, a sound cut through the chaos. A beep. Then another. The heart monitor was showing rhythm again. Weak, irregular, but present. Pyrie gasped. A tiny, desperate pull of air into her lungs. She is breathing, Dr. Alwyn announced. We have her back. Her heart is beating. David felt Gorth's massive body go completely still beneath him. The warrior's orange eyes were wide, focused on the monitor across the room. Beep, beep, beep. His daughter's heartbeat, steady and growing stronger. Gorth's struggle ceased. His 4 arms went limp against the floor. A sound came from him that David had never heard before. Something between a sob and a prayer. Pyrie, Gorth whispered. My little one. David released the pressure on Gorth's neck slowly. He kept his weight balanced, ready to respond if the warrior tried to fight again. But the massive alien just lay there, his orange eyes fixed on the monitor, showing his daughter's vital signs. I'm going to let you up now, David said. You will not attack the medical team. Agreed. Gorth nodded. The movement was small, almost childlike. Agreed. David stood and stepped back. He offered his hand to help Gorth rise, though the gesture was mostly symbolic. The Kravik probably outweighed him by 500 pounds. But Gorth took the offered hand anyway, letting David pull him to his feet. The security guards moved forward with containment cuffs. Their faces showed a mix of relief and embarrassment. 5 of them had been scattered like leaves, and a single human recruit had ended the situation in seconds. Wait, David said. He positioned himself between Gorith and the guards. He was not attacking. He was protecting. The head guard raised an eyebrow. He destroyed station property and injured my officers because he thought we were hurting his daughter. It was a misunderstanding that sent 3 of my people to medical treatment. David looked at Dr. Alwyn. Tell them. The Sessith physician finished adjusting Pyre's 4 before responding. Her 6 arms moved through the final checks with practiced efficiency. The human is correct. This was a cultural issue, not aggression. He still needs to be detained, the head guard insisted. For what? David asked. For trying to protect his child? If someone was attacking your daughter and you could not understand why, what would you do? The guard's expression softened slightly. He looked at Gorith, then at the small Quillen child on the examination table. Station protocol can wait until his daughter is stable. Dr. Alwyn interrupted. I need him here. If she wakes, she will be frightened. She needs her father. The head guard looked like he wanted to argue. Then he sighed and lowered his weapon. Fine. But he does not leave this room without escort. And you, he pointed at David, are responsible for him. Understood. The guards withdrew to positions around the room. They kept their hands on their weapons, but did not aim them. A compromise that satisfied no one, but worked for everyone. Gorith stood frozen, staring at his daughter. His 4 arms hung at his sides. He did not move closer. You can touch her, David said gently. She needs to know you are here. I tried to hurt you. Gorith's voice was barely a whisper. I would have killed you. Killed all of you. But you did not. And I am not hurt. How? Gorith turned to look at David. You are so small. I am trained warrior. Fought in 3 campaigns. No one has ever. He stopped, searching for words. How did small human defeat me so easily? David glanced at Dr. Alwyn. She gave a small nod. Permission to explain. Humans study every species we meet, David said. We learn how your bodies work, where nerves run, where bones connect. We learn this from medicine, to heal injuries and cure diseases. But the same knowledge works for defense. I know exactly where to press to make your arms stop working. Exactly where to touch to disrupt your balance. You are warriors, then? Like Kravik. No, we are survivors. There's a difference. David moved to the examination table and checked Pyre's monitors. Her heart rate was stable now, settling into a healthy rhythm. On Earth, humans were not the biggest or strongest. We did not have claws or armor or venom. We survived by understanding, by learning, by being smarter instead of stronger. Gorith processed this. You could have broken my arm. The nerve damage could have been permanent. Yes, but you did not. Why? Because you were not my enemy. You were a scared father. I took an oath to do no harm. That applies to everyone, even people trying to hurt me. Something changed in Gorith's expression. His orange eyes narrowed, studying David with new intensity. You stopped me without harming me. This is great skill, great honor. It was just training. No, Gorith shook his massive head. Many with training would have struck to kill. Easier, safer. You chose difficult path, dangerous path. He paused. Why did you step between me and the others? You knew I could kill you. David shrugged. Someone had to, and I was closest. That is not reason. That is excuse. The words hung in the air. David found himself thinking back to his training on Earth, to the oath he had taken, to the reasons he had chosen medicine instead of a dozen other careers. My grandmother raised me, David said finally. She got sick when I was 12. Cancer. I watched the doctors fight to save her. Watched them refuse to give up even when it looked hopeless. He adjusted Pyre's oxygen mask. She died anyway. But those doctors never stopped trying, never stopped caring. They treated her with dignity until the very end. I am sorry for your loss. The point is, they did not just treat her body. They treated her fears, her pain, her family's grief. Medicine is not just about fixing what is broken. It is about helping people through the worst moments of their lives. Gorith was quiet for a long moment. Then he moved to the examination table. His massive hand hovered over Pyre's small form, hesitant. You can touch her, Dr. Alwyn said. Gently. Gorth's hand settled on Pyre's shoulder. The size difference was startling. His palm covered most of her upper body, but his touch was incredibly gentle. Papa. The voice was so quiet David almost missed it. Pyre's eyes fluttered open. Those huge, dark eyes that took up half her small face. She looked confused and frightened. I am here, little one, Gorth said. His gruff voice had gone soft. You are safe. These people saved you. Hurts, Pyre whispered. I know, but it will get better. I promise. Dr. Alwyn moved to the other side of the table. Hello, Pyre. My name is Dr. Alwyn. You have been very sick, but you're going to be fine. Do you understand? The child nodded slightly. Good. Now rest. Your father will stay right here. Pyre's eyes closed again. Her breathing deepened into sleep. Real sleep this time, not unconsciousness. Gorth did not move. His hand remained on his daughter's shoulder. His orange eyes were wet. The next 2 days blurred together. David barely left the medical bay. He monitored Pyre's recovery, adjusted her medications, and watched as her small body slowly healed itself. The dehydration had done serious damage, but Quillen physiology was resilient. With proper care, she would make a full recovery. Gorth never left his daughter's side. He sat in a reinforced chair that the station engineers had specially built, too large for the regular furniture. The massive warrior kept one hand on Pyre at all times, as if afraid she would disappear if he looked away. Other medical staff gave them a wide berth. The story had spread through the station like wildfire. 5 security guards taken down in seconds. A human recruit who stopped a Kravic warrior with his bare hands. The tale grew with each telling, gaining details that had never happened. David ignored the whispers. He focused on his work. On the second night, Pyre woke up properly. Her eyes were clear and alert. She looked around the medical bay with curiosity rather than fear. Where are we? She asked. Her voice was thin but steady. Medical station, Gorth replied. You were sick, very sick, but the doctors made you better. Pyre turned her head to look at David. He was checking her foreline, making sure the nutrients flowed properly. Are you a doctor? Not yet. Still learning. You're very small. David smiled. So are you. But I'm supposed to be small. Quillen are always small. She studied him with those huge dark eyes. Humans are supposed to be bigger. I saw pictures of my learning pod. Humans come in many sizes. I am on the smaller end. Oh, Pyre thought about this. Then she looked at her father. Papa, what happened to your arm? You keep moving it funny. Gorth flexed his upper right hand, the one David had struck. I injured it. My own fault. Did the doctors fix it? The human recruit fixed it. Same one who made me better when I was not thinking clearly. Pyre looked confused. David did not explain. Some stories were better left for later. Doctor Alwyn arrived for evening rounds. Her 6 arms carried various medical instruments. Good to see you awake, little one. How do you feel? Hungry, Pyre admitted. Excellent sign. We will start you on solid food tomorrow. For tonight, your 4 will give you everything you need. Dr. Alwyn updated the charts with practiced efficiency. Your recovery is ahead of schedule. If progress continues, you can leave in 3 more days. Gorth's relief was visible. Thank you. All of you. Thank your human friend here. Dr. Alwyn gestured at David with one of her middle arms. He is the one who kept the situation from becoming worse. I know. Gorth's orange eyes found David across the room. I owe him life debt. Traditional obligation of my people. David felt his stomach sink. He had read about Kravic life debts during his cultural training. They were serious, binding. Once declared, the debt holder became responsible for the debtor's honor. If David asked, Gorth would be obligated to fulfill the request. Any request. That is not necessary, David said quickly. It is necessary. You saved my daughter. Save me from making terrible mistake. This debt must be paid. You do not owe me anything. I was doing my job. Your job was to care for the sick. You went beyond that. You put yourself in danger for strangers. Gorth stood, his massive frame filling half the room. In Kravic culture, such actions demand recognition. In human culture, we just say thank you and move on. Then our cultures differ. The debt stands. Dr. Alwyn watched the exchange with amusement. I think you should accept, David. Refusing a life debt is considered insulting among Kravik. You might start another incident. David sighed. Fine. The debt is acknowledged. Gorith nodded solemnly. Then something unexpected happened. The massive warrior smiled. It was a strange expression on his flat, angular face. Good. Now I can tell you about the thing I noticed. What thing? The way you moved. When you stopped me. Gorith sat back down, his lower arms resting on the arms of the reinforced chair. You did not just know where to strike. You knew how I would move. Before I moved. How? David had been hoping no one would ask that question. Observation. Observation, Gorith repeated. The words sounded like doubt. You observed me for 30 seconds in emergency situation and learned my fighting patterns. Your stance gave away your intentions. The way you shifted your weight before swinging. The slight tensing of your shoulder muscles. Small tells that indicate what comes next. These are things warriors train for years to hide. To control. You are not in warrior mode. You are in father mode. Different mindset. Different body language. Gorith leaned forward, genuinely interested now. Explain. David glanced at Pyrie. She had fallen asleep again, exhausted by the brief conversation. He lowered his voice. When you fight as a warrior, you think tactically. You plan. You control your body with precision. But when you thought we were hurting Pyrie, you stopped thinking tactically. You reacted on instinct. Pure emotion. That made you predictable. So you used my love for my daughter against me. I used your grief to protect you from yourself. There's a difference. Gorith sat back. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said something David did not expect. You would make excellent warrior. I am a medic. Many of the best Kravik warriors started as healers. They understand bodies, understand weakness and strength, understand when to strike and when to stop. Gorith looked at his sleeping daughter. But few understand mercy. That is rare, valuable. Mercy is not rare among humans. It is rare among all species. Do not pretend otherwise. Gorith met David's eyes. You could have let the guards shoot me. Would have been safer. Easier. Protocol would have supported that choice. But you chose difficult path instead. Why? David had already answered this question once. But Gorith was asking something deeper now. Not about training or oaths or duty. About the core of who David was. Because everyone deserves a chance to understand before they are punished, David said finally. You did not know what CPR was. Did not understand our medical procedures. That ignorance was not your fault. Punishing you for it would have been wrong, even though I tried to kill you. Even then, Gorith nodded slowly. This is very human way of thinking. Very strange. Very. He searched for a word. Hopeful. Yes. Hopeful that people can learn, can change, can be better than their worst moment. Is that so unusual? Yes, Gorith said simply. Most species judge by action, not intention. You acted with violence toward me, so you are enemy. Simple, clean, but you saw past my actions to my fear, to my confusion. This is not simple. This requires work, requires choosing to understand when anger would be easier. David did not know what to say to that. He returned to checking the medical equipment, letting the conversation fade. The next day brought complications of a different kind. Station administration wanted a formal report on the incident. Security wanted statements. The medical review board wanted to understand what had gone wrong with their protocols. David found himself sitting in a conference room across from Station Director Willis. The director was a middle-aged woman with gray hair and tired eyes. She looked at him like he was a puzzle she could not quite solve. Walk me through it again, she said. From the moment Gorith entered the emergency room. David had already told this story 3 times. He told it a 4th. The director listened without interrupting, making notes on her tablet. And when you stopped him, she said when he finished, you are certain you could not have used less dangerous methods? A stun baton? Chemical spray? Those would not have worked. Kravik nervous systems are resistant to most standard incapacitants, and using weapons would have escalated the situation. He thought we were attacking his daughter. Seeing weapons would have confirmed that belief. So you chose to engage him physically. I chose to stop him with minimal harm. Yes. You are aware that Kravik are classified as Class 4 dangerous species? That station protocol specifically forbids direct physical contact except in extreme circumstances. I am aware, and you decided protocol did not apply. David met her eyes. I decided that saving lives was more important than following rules written by people who were not in that room. The director's expression did not change. She made another note. You understand that if this had gone wrong, if Gorth had killed you or others, this station would face severe legal consequences. Yes. And you understood those risks in the moment. I understood that a scared father was about to do something he would regret forever. I understood that his daughter needed him. I understood that everyone in that room was in danger. So I acted. With 3 weeks of xenobiology training and no combat certification. With 3 weeks of intensive study of every major species anatomy and 15 years of martial arts training back on Earth. That got her attention. That was not in your file. You did not ask about hobbies. I trained in judo and aikido since I was 8 years old. My grandmother insisted. She said the world was dangerous and small people needed to know how to protect themselves. Your grandmother was wise. She was paranoid, but yes, also wise. Director Willis set down her tablet. Off the record. Okay, you did good work, David. Probably saved lives. Definitely prevented a tragedy. But you also terrified my security team, violated multiple protocols, and created a documentation nightmare. She rubbed her temples. I have to put something in my report. Something that explains why we are not punishing you. Put the truth. I saw a problem and fixed it. The truth is complicated. The truth does not fit in neat boxes on incident forms. Then maybe the forms need to change. The director actually smiled at that. You have been here 3 weeks and already want to reform station bureaucracy. Very human. Is that a compliment? It is an observation. She stood, indicating the meeting was over. You are clear to return to duty. But David, next time you decide to fight a Class 4 species with your bare hands, maybe give security a heads up first. I will try to remember that. David left the conference room feeling drained. The administrative side of medicine was exhausting. All the forms and procedures and protocols. He understood their purpose, understood why they existed. But sometimes they felt like barriers between doctors and patients. He returned to the medical bay to find visitors waiting. Not just Gorth and Pyrie, but others. A hive worker he recognized from the waiting room. The trader who had been vomiting. Even some of the security guards who had been injured. They wanted to meet the human who stopped the Kravik. Wanted to thank him. Wanted to hear the story firsthand. David tried to deflect the attention. Told them he was just doing his job. But they persisted. So he answered their questions and accepted their gratitude with as much grace as he could manage. One of the security guards pulled him aside. Her name was Rita, and she had been the first one Gorth had thrown across the room. I owe you an apology, she said. For what? For thinking humans were soft. For not taking you seriously when you stepped forward. She flexed her shoulder, testing the range of motion. Medical cleared me this morning. Bruised ribs, nothing serious. But I keep thinking about what would have happened if you had not been there. Someone else would have stopped him. No, someone else would have shot him. Would have killed him or hurt him badly. Then his daughter would have woken up without a father. You prevented that. Rita met his eyes. Thank you. You are welcome. After the visitors left, David checked on Pyrie one final time before his shift ended. She was sitting up now, eating soft foods. Her color had returned completely. She looked healthy, happy. David, she said when she saw him. Papa told me what happened. How you stopped him from making a mistake. Your father was not thinking clearly. Anyone would have acted the same way. Papa says you're a very skilled warrior. I'm not a warrior. Then what are you? David thought about that question, about all the training and studying and choices that had led him to this moment, about his grandmother and her paranoid insistence on self-defense lessons, about the doctors who had cared for her with such dignity, about the oath he had taken and the work he had chosen. I am someone who tries to help, he said finally. That is all. Pyrie smiled. I think that is enough. Later that night, David sat in the station's observation lounge. Through the massive windows, he could see ships coming and going. Dozens of species, hundreds of worlds. all passing through this neutral space, his tablet chimed. A message from Dr. Alwyn. Good work on your first week. You show promise. Tomorrow we have a surgery scheduled. Tricky one. Dual circulatory system with a collapsed valve. One observe. David smiled and typed back a response. Yes. Thank you. His first week at Galactic Medical Station Mercy. 7 had been nothing like he expected. But then again, the best experiences never were. 3 days later, Pyrie was cleared for discharge. David watched as Goreth carefully dressed his daughter in fresh clothing, his massive hands gentle with the tiny buttons and clasps. The size difference still struck him as remarkable. All set, Dr. Alwyn asked. Her 6 arms were finalizing the discharge paperwork, moving through the forms with practice speed. Yes, Goreth said. Thank you. For everything. The thanks belong to your friend David. He is the one who turned a disaster into a recovery. Goreth looked at David. The warrior had been quiet all morning, thoughtful in a way that seemed unusual for him. Human, walk with us to the docking bay. Of course. They made an odd group moving through the station corridors. A 9-foot Kravik warrior, a small Quillen child, and a human medic. People stopped to stare. Some moved out of the way quickly, nervous. Others watched with curiosity. Pyrie held Goreth's lower right hand, her tiny fingers wrapped around one of his massive digits. She skipped more than walked, her energy fully restored. I like this station, she announced. It smells funny, but everyone is nice. The station saved your life, little one. Of course you like it. Will we come back? Perhaps. When you need your medical checkups. They reached the docking bay. Goreth's ship was a cargo hauler, old but well-maintained. The kind of vessel that belonged to independent traders who worked the outer routes. To the airlock, Goreth stopped. He knelt down, bringing himself closer to David's height. Even kneeling, his orange eyes were level with David's. Before we part, Goreth said, I must fulfill my obligation. The life debt. I told you, that is not necessary. It is necessary for me. Please, let me do this. David sighed. What do you want to do? I have spoken with other Kravik. Sent messages across the trading networks. Told them what happened here. How a human medic showed mercy when violence would have been easier. How you understood that fear and grief can make people act without thinking. Okay, Kravik respect strength, but we also respect wisdom. What you showed was both. Goreth reached into his pack and pulled out something small. A medallion on a heavy chain. The metal was dark, etched with symbols David did not recognize. This is Warrior's Mark, given to those who demonstrate exceptional skill in combat. I want you to have it. I am not a warrior. You defeated me. That makes you warrior whether you claim the title or not. Goreth pressed the medallion into David's hand. But more importantly, I want other Kravik to know what you did. This mark is recognized across our territories. Any Kravik who sees it will know you acted with honor, will know you are a friend to our people. David looked at the medallion. It was surprisingly light for its size. The metal felt warm against his palm. There is more, Goreth continued. I have made a declaration to the Kravik Council. Any human medical personnel working in our territories will have our protection. We will defend your hospitals, guard your aid stations, ensure your doctors can work without fear. That is a significant commitment. It is necessary commitment. For too long, we have seen healers as weak, as targets. But you showed us different truth. Healers can be strong in ways warriors cannot understand. They fight battles we cannot see. They save lives we cannot save. Goreth stood. My people need to learn this lesson. Your actions will teach them. Pyrie tugged on her father's hand. Papa, are we leaving now? Yes, little one. Goreth lifted her easily with his lower arms. She settled against his chest, small and safe. David, one more thing. What? If you ever need help, send word through Kravik channels. Quote the marking on that medallion. Someone will come. This I promise. David wanted to argue, wanted to insist that he was just a medic doing his job. But he saw the determination in Goreth's orange eyes. This was important to the warrior. Refusing would be an insult. I accept, David said. Thank you. Goreth nodded. Then, to David's surprise, the massive alien placed his upper right hand over his heart. A Kravik salute, a gesture of profound respect. David returned the gesture as best he could. He had no idea if he did it correctly, but Goreth seemed satisfied. Goodbye, David, Pyrie called as they entered the airlock. Thank you for saving me. Goodbye, Pyrie. Stay healthy. The airlock closed. Through the viewing window, David watched their ship power up and detach from the station. The thrusters fired, and the cargo hauler disappeared into the black. David stood there for a while, holding the medallion. The weight of what had just happened was starting to sink in. He had not just helped one patient. He had potentially changed how an entire species viewed medical workers. His tablet chimed. Another message from Dr. Alwyn. When you're done staring at space, report to surgery. We start in 20 minutes. David smiled and pocketed the medallion. Back to work, the surgery went well. A Trilex merchant with a failing heart valve. Dr. Alwyn walked David through the procedure, explaining each step. The anatomy was complex, but the principles were familiar. Find a problem. Fix the problem. Close the patient. Same as it had always been, just with different species. After the surgery, David checked on his other patients. The hive worker with chemical burns was healing nicely. The trader from the outer rings had recovered from his food poisoning. Routine cases. Normal work. But word of the incident with Goreth had spread far beyond the station. David's messages were full of inquiries. Medical schools wanted to interview him. News services wanted the story. Even some military organizations reached out, interested in his training methods. He deleted most of them. Kept working. 2 weeks later, something unusual happened. A Krovic transport arrived at the station. Not for medical treatment. The crew requested to meet with the human medic who had earned a warrior's mark. David met them in the visitor lounge. 5 Krovic warriors, each massive and intimidating. They studied him with open curiosity. You are the one, the leader asked. I am David. Yes. Show us the mark. David pulled out the medallion. The Krovic examined it carefully, passing it between them. Their expressions shifted from skepticism to surprise to something like respect. This is genuine, the leader confirmed. Goreth was not exaggerating. You truly earned this. He gave it to me. I did not ask for it. That makes it more meaningful. The leader returned the medallion. We came to see if the stories were true. We doubted. Small human defeating trained Krovic warrior seemed impossible. It was not about defeating him. It was about stopping him from making a mistake. This is what Goreth said. This is what we did not understand. But now we see. The leader placed his hand over his heart. You have our respect, human David. Our protection, as Goreth promised. They left after that. But more came. Word spread through the Krovic territories. The human medic who fought without fighting, who won without killing, who showed mercy to an enemy, who showed him none. David's life did not change dramatically. He still worked long shifts, still studied alien anatomy, still learned new procedures. But now, when Krovic patients arrived, they treated him differently, with respect, with trust. And across the galaxy, in places David would never visit, human doctors and medics found themselves protected by Krovic warriors. Safe in conflict zones, guarded at aid stations, defended against those who would attack healers. All because one human chose understanding over violence, chose mercy over protocol, chose to see his scared father instead of a dangerous enemy. Sometimes the greatest victories are the ones that never feel like fighting at all.